or you might be in this video?
No, it's fine. So I'm a part of the film studio in Nashville.
Oh,
Here in
cool.
Maine. Just did like our first short film. It was really fun.
Dope.
Yeah, I love it.
What's your name?
I'm Crystal. Elisa.
Eden. Brian. Francisco.
Mark,
Mark.
I'd love your card. If you're in film as well, I'd love whatever. But
For sure, we'll write
yeah.
down our socials.
Yeah.
She's
Okay.
also a phenomenal makeup artist.
Oh, I need a list of. I'm creating a list of makeup artists,
Yes.
stylists, all that kind of stuff for my studio.
Oh, she's I'll
And to
literally-
piggyback off of that, I DJ weddings pretty much year round. So
I do weddings.
we gotta connect.
We gotta connect. We'll give you our stuff before you go. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And if you want to move this out,
You were my guy?
yeah,
Wow.
I'll take you. I got you.
Right. I like the convenience of the bridge,
Yeah.
being an exit away from being in town and being able to run over to my businesses real quick. But I have been wanting to move out of West Seattle as much as I love it here. Whenever we're out, I try to find like, what's the next West Seattle-like community that we could tap into? Because that's the only way I'm going to get Mina interested in it.
Right. It's crazy. Like when you are from West Seattle and you appreciate it, and you know what it has to offer compared to like all the other neighborhoods in Seattle. It's hard. It's hard to see yourself out of it.
Oh, I bet.
Like my thing is, it's just been the diversity and the acceptance of that here. Like I went to school up at Western, right out of high school, whatever, and I learned more outside of class about like society and culture and all that.
Yeah.
And West Seattle was just like bringing me back, like calling me, like, look, this is where you were accepted. No one looks at you funny. You know what I mean? Like this is home. And so I think growing up here, like the same thing for Mina is, it's home. So where can you replicate that?
Yeah, and I haven't found that community because I know that I need to tap into that.
Right.
Because that's basically the pulse that I could pull my wife into. But you know, she's like, we're looking at houses. You know, we're looking at houses. The first thing that she wants to look at is like your video you showed me earlier. The first thing is there a walk-in closet? You know, because the houses that are built in West Seattle were mid-century or even old craftsmen's from the 1910s and Our old house in North Admiral was built in like 1912.
Was that the house, the infamous pool party?
With the swimming pool, yeah. They took that swimming pool out. It was so, I mean, you get to use the swimming pool 3 times a year, right? Maybe 4 if you're lucky.
If that.
And you're keeping it clean for 360 days outside of that. And we had like a 100-year-old tree, because that community has all that old growth trees in there, that was just dropping stuff in our pool every day.
That's one of the oldest neighborhoods in Seattle.
Yeah. I had met this kid, Shinya. He was a photographer for John Moore from Japan, and he did all the album covers. And then I realized like he knows Sam Sneak, and so it was even like not just MCs or like groups that were all connected in network. It was like
a culture.
The whole top down, like
Yeah.
the person doing the artwork, the person that was doing distribution.
Everything was intertwined.
Yeah. And they're all working together. You know, I remember at one point in time, it was like I had first met Jake, and then I met like Bean One. And it was like, you know, in our worlds, those are like, you're competing against each other, right? You're in the same business, but they're all together.
Yeah.
They're all working together doing mixtapes and stuff. And so, I mean, that was it. You know, that was when we had opened up Sal's Barbershop on East Olive, right next to Capitol 1524. We were there first, right?
Right, and you got sold Sal's to Dave, right?
Yep, yeah. And so when we had the barbershop there, Dave was one of our first employees there. And that barbershop business, while it wasn't a lucrative venture for us, you know, from a money standpoint, it was probably the best networking thing that we had ever engaged in, because Marcus, Jonathan, and Jake and Vlad, all those guys
Upstairs,
had the
right?
office upstairs, and it was like the office was about this big, you know, and so like everyone went there as a hub, and it was an interesting time. We went from there. That was before the War Room,
Right.
and then we opened the War Room from that network, and then we had Boulevard, the art gallery, from that same little network, and you know, then we had a print shop. We were like, hey, we need to get merch. Let's just open up a print shop. And you know, these are all businesses that we probably shouldn't have been in it. You know, Marcus was running a record label at the time, and
Yeah, so that's how I met Marcus. So when I got here, I went to Birmingham. I was in Birmingham working every day. I would get off work at 2:00 and come straight to Seattle.
Hop on a ferry.
Hop on a ferry, come
Wow.
to the city. Same thing in San Francisco. Walk around, try to run into people. I ended up, one of my guys from the base was like, hey, let's go down to the Tacoma Mall. I was like, all right, I don't know what Tacoma is, let's go.
Yeah.
So we catch the ferry here, go down to the Tacoma Mall, walking around the mall, and I could tell you exactly what I had on. I had on a pair of wheat Timbs, some baggy ass Guess jeans, a blue Averex, and one of those Australian hats that button up on one side. And I'm walking around the
I
mall.
remember that look.
ODB.
Oh, crazy, right?
ODB.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Tilson walks up to me. He's like, dude, where are you from? I was like, oh, DC, Virginia, like, you know, East Coast. And we started talking. He's like, you want to go see Redman tonight? And I was like, absolutely. So he gives me a free pass to go come see Redman.
Wow.
We ended up connecting with him at the show. All of us freestyled after the show.
Dope.
He was like, dude, you're super cool. Why don't you come to the city tomorrow? I'll be at Stuck on Needle Records in Pioneer Square.
Yep.
Like, I gotta go drop something
Right
off
by
to
the totem pole.
I gotta drop something off to Zach and Karim. I come downtown, go upstairs, and Marcus is sitting in the office. Marcus immediately cracked a joke, and I had never met him, like ever. Cracked a joke on me, and we just kind of hit it off, like from there. And then I want to say that next weekend they were like, "Come back up here, we'll take you to the art bar. You'll love the art bar."
Oh,
and
man.
when I tell you, I walked into the art bar for the first time, I felt like I was back home.
Yeah.
It was like the dope. I was like, wow, Seattle.
I mean, when you just
has
say
it.
art bar, it just almost gives me chills immediately.
Yeah.
It's just like,
that was the one. Like, you know, like the Yo Sun vibe at the Chop Sun Yo Sun vibe will never ever be recreated.
So, I mean, none of these people that are listening to this probably understand what the hell you're talking about. But I met you guys, or I met Brian through mutual friends, and it was a Nightlife that brought us all together.
Yes.
And obviously, you guys were like right in the thick of things, in the middle of it all, kind of pointing everything out. I mean, let's talk about that time that you're talking about. Like, are we ever gonna see the Nightlife in Seattle that hype again?
Personally, I don't think that feeling
Yeah.
will ever come back. And but there's a lot of factors, not just the city.
Right.
I mean, you know, we're in a streaming era where everything is like throwaway music. Like you listen to an album, it's your favorite, it's an instant classic, and you don't listen to it in the next week. It changes like a seasonal latte, right? So now people are more conditioned when they go out. It's very rare that people will go out and have fun. Like growing up for me, like the whole point of going out and kicking it was to hear something I'd never heard before.
Yeah, that's dope.
That was like the pinnacle.
Yeah.
Now most people only want to hear what they know.
Yeah.
And that determines whether they're gonna have a good time or not. Like I've seen crowds like DJing and I'll play something that they don't know, and you can watch people look at each other like, hey, do we know this one? And they'll all be like, nah, and then they'll leave the dance floor.
Yeah.
Because they can't sing along to it and they can't do this. Like, oh. you know what I mean?
I mean, the funnest thing for me was seeing you DJing and trying to get into that vibe, because you just control the crowd, right? Like, you're a DJ too. Like, that's got to be one of the dopest
Oh, it's an amazing feeling.
feelings in the world, is to be able to control a vibe and like help people get out of their heads.
Yeah.
but I mean, I think, BB, it's 100% like, can we recreate that? Can someone else recreate that? Can the next generation recreate that? And I think it's as much as we would like that to happen, and that we're mentoring different crews
Right.
and working with people, it is a different time.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if you accept that, then you don't get as jaded against Nightlife, right?
Right.
Like
Oh,
you
for
just,
sure.
It's just evolved differently, right?
Yep.
Like there used to be a thing like new music came out on Tuesdays, and so like we all knew that.
You're right here on a Tuesday.
You were here on a Tuesday. You had the relationship with the music buyer. You had them holding copies for you. It was tangible. It was like a physical piece that you had. And like if you had that piece of music, there's a good chance that someone else didn't have it.
Right.
And so so you played it. If it hit the radio, then it would be a little bit more acceptable in the club. But when you got to the club and you dropped new music that you had gotten on the Tuesday, the people were conditioned to listen to something that is foreign. And what you just said is now people are conditioned to listen to something that's familiar.
Right.
And they want familiar in order to have fun.
Yes.
And so like us as like sort of an older generation now, we've had to pivot and go, okay, we just have to, the delivery mechanism's different now.
Yep.
So let's just deliver fun. And so that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
To me, that's not fun for me as a craft. I'm just working now, where
Catering.
before I was really having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Dude, that's super interesting. I've never like thought of it that way.
In retail, we call it clerking, where you
Clerking.
basically, you're not servicing the client, you just give them what they want. And like you come in for one shoe, I only bring out one shoe instead of bring you a selection.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know that person, right? You know that customer that like,
Oh, yeah.
when you worked in retail at Nordstrom, you knew like this person wants me to present stuff to
Right.
them. This other person is like, I want that black Prada boot that I saw on this person now.
Yep.
And you're like,
To go.
Boom.
Yeah.
To go. Here,
Yeah.
you got it.